Good morning and welcome back. Happy Monday. This is Faith Family Focus. I am your co-host, former Duke women's basketball graduate and current marketing manager for SIG Sports, as well as CEO and founder of Brand by Faith, a social media management company dedicating to telling the stories of our clients. And this wonderful man next to me is Schaefer Suggs, former NFL player with the New York Jets and the Cincinnati Bengals, and has also served as VP and on the executive board for the RPFPC, also known as the charitable arm of the NFLPA Chicago chapter. Good morning, Dad. Happy Monday. Happy June. We're here.
Happy Monday. Happy June. Finally has some decent weather. We do need rain, though.
We need rain. Well, you know what? Here, I don't know if you noticed. Have you noticed? It's not that it's cloudy here. We have air quality issues.
Okay.
There is brush fires coming from, I can't know if it's Wisconsin, but coming down. And so every time I see the weather thing, I'm like, oh, it's gonna be a sunny day. It is not sunny. It looks like a simple overcast day.
It is. It is. A lot of exciting things happening.
Yes, absolutely.
Exciting things happening that we'll get a chance to talk about today.
I just want to say we are officially 1 week or so into, or 2 weeks into the WNBA final, not WNBA finals, WNBA start of the season, and it is like night and day kind of. I don't know if anybody has gotten to watch any games, but they look really fun. And I'm excited for it. I'm excited for the style of play. The talent looks great. The fanmanship looks great. But every time I can try to catch a game, I try to, because just the whole overall experience of the games sounds really fun and looks really fun. And so I also,
teams in it too.
what'd you say? Yeah, we've good. I mean,
they have different teams. A team that's never different outfit's never been in the finals before. Of course, Miami back.
Wait. I'm talking about the WNBA.
Oh, WNBA. Oh, that part of. Okay, my bad. What was I expecting that you would start out with? Okay, I'm back.
I start with our topic. Yeah, no, I was saying to our viewers how fun the WNBA has looked so far and the games have looked, and how excited I am for the season, because I thought I knew who was going to win this year. I still kind of know that the Aces should win this year, but I don't think I'm going to put aside anybody and really promise anything. And the reason I say that is because of the NBA finals, NBA playoffs, because obviously, I think Denver is an amazing team, but no one ever imagines Denver to go to the NBA finals. This is their first one, in 50 something years. And then, as well as Miami, I think everybody thought that we'd be seeing Boston. So it's been an interesting 2 weeks of sports, and I really like it for basketball's sake. I don't really know what's going on with the NFL. I think they're all still partying and taking their vacations.
Well, there's a topic I want to share with you in terms of the WNBA.
Mhm.
And the draft picks, the number one top draft picks that are not actually playing because of the lack of roster spots in the WNBA.
Well, we talked about a little bit about this last show, I think, or maybe 2 shows ago. It's not that they're not playing; it's that there's not enough roster spots for teams, for players. It's hard because one is this is the global league. This is supposed to be the best league in the world, right? For talent. 12 teams, 12 spots. One of the hardest professional leagues to get into and stay in. It's very much dominated by veterans, because that's just what it is. That's the culture of the league. Where in comparison to the NBA, you have a very strong different demographic across age groups, across 3 levels, right? Where the WNBA doesn't have a developmental league, so everybody's trying to get into one league. When teams, this is not something new, right? The draft happens, and then it's possible that no matter what draft pick you are, you will still not make the roster. You only make the training camp roster, because that's really what you're getting drafted to. Obviously, the first pick, the second pick, 1 through 5 normally they stay on a roster. That doesn't mean they stay in the league, but they stay on the roster for that season. But it is a lot more cutthroat in the sense that because there's only 12 roster spots on 12 teams, that's only what 144 spots in the entire league. That there's no room for the younger generation to come in and take a veteran spot on a already established organization.
Right.
So we see it often. This isn't the first year it happened. I think it happened a lot. And I think we were having the conversation about how it's an issue already. But I don't think that because we are having the conversation in the past seasons and now it's happening, we saw it more and more. Like, I don't know, like I think maybe just under half of the people drafted across the first and second rounds of this year's WNBA draft did not make a complete roster, or they were waived or cut by the time that season actually got out of preseason. It started last 2 Fridays ago. So it's like, yeah, that is a lot. But also when you think about it, there's not a lot of spots. So where's everybody supposed to go? And so that's why they have that situation. And I think a big situation was that LSU point guard Alexis Morris, who played in the championship game with with Reese and with there's another one I liked. I mean, obviously Caitlin Clark, but there's the one girl on LSU. But Alexis Morris was one of the biggest faces of personality in terms of social media. And so she got drafted. She got drafted, I believe, first round, which I was surprised about. And she got waived at the Connecticut Sun. And she went on Twitter and she went a whole 24 hours on Twitter tweeting about what the problems are with the WNBA. The veterans need to retire. They're not even as good as those coming in. And the only issue with that is that Alexis Morris did deserve to be cut because she was not the best player on the Connecticut Sun team. So it's that situation too, where you have this level of entitlement pushing the conversation, which that I think there's a era of entitlement that we're all experiencing right now. It's not just sports, it's work. We just came out of not just pandemic, but also out of one of the biggest, people are quitting their jobs eras ever. It's they call it the Great Resignation. There's a level of people choosing entitlement, which is good and bad, right? Entitlement means you understand what you deserve, but also entitlement can blind your eyes on what the actual situation is that you're walking into. In that situation, Alexis Morris was blinded by entitlement, blinded by her actual skill level and what it actually is and how it does not fit on a WNBA roster. That's the unfortunate situation. So she later apologized about it. She had to release a statement and everything. But I think that because the conversation has legs now, you know what I mean? I think because it was brewing in this past year, that's why everybody's realizing oh, wow, you can get drafted and still not make a team, not make a roster. Then they're like, all right, what are you going to do about it? Right? Are you going to expand the league? Are you going to add more roster spots? Are you going to create a developmental league? What are you going to do to fix the problem? And there hasn't been any conversations or response back from the league itself. So I think that's the thing. But I think that it's gonna die down. The season's gonna end, and then it's gonna start up again. And it's gonna keep having one of those conversations.
Right. So collectively across the board, professional athletes,
Mm-hmm.
do you think there is a sense of entitlement because of the salaries and the opportunities that the kids have? I saw a clip about Michael Jordan talking about how hard it was for him, Magic Johnson, Charles Barkley, Larry Bird, to play and get the kind of salaries that they are getting, where now these guys are coming out of college getting these salaries. And I think that's kind of nurturing, just because of the state of what the opportunity is. It's kind of nurturing the expectation of I'm getting paid now mentality, and they're almost expecting it. Look at and these guys are not having a level of appreciation for those who kind of paved the way for some of these kids to have the kind of opportunities that they're having now today. You guys coming out of college, now you add the level of NIL, kids coming out of high school, college. I think the opportunity for having and making a lot of money is great. But it's also nurturing this sense of entitlement, which leads to what you just talked about Alexis. Is that immediately They expect it.
Yeah. Well, they don't know how hard it's going to be.
Right. So what's your thought on that?
I said, though, I said it's good and bad. Entitlement is good and bad. Because is it Michael Jordan and Magic Johnson's fault that they did not make as much money as Jason Tatum is this year? It's not their fault. But what they did for Jason Tatum was be who they were, achieve what they did, and then reinvest back into the sport in order for it to then grow wealthy. And for then years later, Jason Tatum to be able to step in the league and sign a $7 billion contract. Same for Patrick Mahomes. Same for, you know what I mean? Like, it's not their fault.
No, it's not their fault. It's just nurturing the entitlement, though.
I think but here's what I want to also, this is what I tell people, there's the good and the bad of it. Because Magic Johnson, Michael Jordan, that generation, and even your generation, the generations who then had children and told them, this is what you deserve. This is what you should get, right? You need to work for it, but don't let anybody tell you you don't deserve this or you don't deserve that, or that the ceiling is too high for you. And so there's always this reinvesting of like knowledge and confidence and like back into generations, right? And then they grow more aware, they grow more understanding, time change and NIL happens, right? This isn't just like just sports. It's an overall, you see a generational change. But then what you also have now is visibility to what's in everybody's bank accounts more than you ever had before.
Yeah, everybody's counting everybody else's money.
So that's what another thing is like, okay, it's the idea of, well, if so-and-so has that, me and so-and-so are on the same skill level. So 1 + 1 should equal 2. But unfortunately, wealth has many layers and many facets, especially in today's society, on how you achieve wealth within brand spaces as athletes, right? Is someone may be more likable than you, and that likability is what makes them get more money than you. And that's why you guys are no longer equal, right? So it's hard. That's where I get my biggest issues is it's like, just because 1 + 1 = 2 does not mean 2 + 5 = 10, right? Like you guys are two different beings, two different entities, two different brands, two different opportunities, two different teams, two different, right? It's just there's so many different facets. You and one person can never be the same. And so that's where I get my biggest issues, because we are very looking at a surface level and expecting, like we said, that entitlement, expecting what we should get based off what my peers are getting. And it's hard because you can't really be the same as your peers because you don't want to be, but also there's only room for one or two, right? So that's what it goes down to. The thing is like she's has this confidence in herself. She has this confidence in her game, which she should. She just came off of winning the national championship game. She was at President Biden's house. She just saw, like, you know what I mean? She had a different experience. So then she's going like this. She's going to the WNBA, and it's like, nope. Right. And when she arrives in Connecticut, they hyped her up. They put her on social media. She had all these opportunities. WNBA posted her, waved her. Same day. They posted her that morning and waved her in the evening. So it's like, it is the unfortunate situation of, it's not just entitlement, but also in the WNBA, it is so completely out of your control that like it has nothing to do with your skills almost, even though in that situation it did. In fact, maybe if they had more spots, she would have stayed on the team. But in that situation, it's like you can go score 30 points a game in your first 2 preseason games, and they still will come in and be like, sorry, we don't have a spot for you. Like that exists in this league. So that's a big thing where it's kind of like, I don't know if it's a sense of entitlement where they don't really know, there's no humility, but I do think there's a sense of entitlement where they can't see that anything can happen. And that is the first life lesson you get as an adult, because it's like, I may have done everything right, but it still may not work out. And that's what I think is like the biggest adjustment for WNBA players as they adjust into the league.
Right.
Because
what's happening with kids early on is that lens is put on only making, getting to the top, only making money, and not spending enough time about reality. Not spending enough time about, what if? I mean, the reality is not everybody. Less than 1% of guys who come out of college play professional football. But they're not telling kids that in 6th and 7th grade. They're not telling the kids, the young basketball players, that early on that. I mean, you don't want to eliminate someone else's dream, but the reality is there's so much hype at an early age. There's so much opportunity for kids to get unrealistic perspective on what the opportunity is, and it's kind of a rude awakening. That's because they don't have. I said they don't have there's a lot of third-party people out there pushing the narrative for their own advantage and not giving a good lens on what really is what's really available to them out there, not finding a balance on it. So
I think that that's because people don't really know. I really think that people don't know what's out there right now because we're still in this new space. We're still in this new, like, kids are getting money at 18 years old that some people can't even make in their entire lifetime. I think that we're still in the space now where it's like kids have millions of followers on Instagram and they're only 20 years old and they have the full reign of everything at their fingertips. They have celebrities. They have Angel Reese was just in a music video with Cardi B. Like, let's really understand, like, we're in a different level that we have ever been in before. And we're watching 18 to 21-year-old, 18 to 22-year-old experience wealth and fame on a level that we've never seen before.
So it's happened before. It's just happening so much earlier now because of NIL. It's happening
earlier, and that's the point of what I'm saying. We've never seen it. If you imagine yourself 18 years old and they put you in a music video with she has Grammys. Like, you're in a music video with one of the most famous women rappers in today's society, and you are 22 years old. So let's really wrap our heads around what else are you getting to do right now? You have your Mercedes, you have a completely different lifestyle off of just one game, right? And so it's like they almost now are what we thought would happen. They would gather the personal, individual fame separate from the team, which is what the goal of NIL was. So now it's kind of like, we still don't know, like, do you control this? How do you maneuver it? For Angel Reese, it's going amazing. It's amazing for her, but it's like, what do you do here? Right? Because we've never had, like I said, 18 to 22-year-olds have the same level of fame as a professional athlete or a actor or a comedian or a talk show host or Oprah.
Yeah.
So we're in a different space. So I think that's what my biggest thing is, like, yes, those third parties are pushing things, but I think it's because no one knows actually anything.
So viewers, so give an example for viewers who, so we know what that is, but what is the third party influence that exists in sports?
I think the third party influence can be anything. I think you see third parties can be a coach, they can be a trainer, they could be a uncle, they could be a friendly, you can see a family friends, they sometimes have a lawyer, that's third party. Sometimes you have an agency, sometimes you have a handler, sometimes you have, right, there's everybody has somebody they refer to for the answers, and that person has somewhat stake and control in the telling of the story of that person, that individual, that
right.
And so and then sometimes it's legal for them to get a piece of cash. Now, a lot of times you just see that's just a family friend.
Right.
And they don't really get anything, but they get the feeling of being in those rooms and the opportunities. And so it's hard because it's like there's no one writing the book on how to do this. So it's not like someone's learning this from somebody in the class. It's just like everyone's kind of trying to learn as fast as they can off of experiences and honestly gather as much goodies as they can before it gets shut down. Because I don't think anyone has the playbook. There is no playbook yet.
Yeah, it is. So what has it been, 2 years from the time we introduced the NIL topic when they were still negotiating the legality?
June 2021.
Yeah. And we're here now. So now you have a very successful young lady who's played college basketball, goes into a different world and culturally, a culture shock when they realize that, wow, I didn't make it on the big stage. Okay. So how does she pivot from that? How does she pivot from
Well,
that?
she goes and plays overseas, and she has the same experience as every other women's athlete. I just think, and then she tries again the next year. It's not. This isn't something that has never happened before. People who've never watched the game or the WNBA are just now seeing it for the first time. Because what we're also seeing is with that LSU run, with the recent changes of NIL, like I said, there's more an individualized fame for athletes. And so people are now tuning in to sports, to games that they have never seen before, right? The viewership for the women's game this year was off the roof. So it's like people were watching the women's college game for the first time ever. And so now they're like, all right, let's go watch her dominate in the WNBA because she just won a national championship in NCAA. What they don't understand is this is a global league.
Mm-hmm.
This is the best of the best in the entire every country on this earth. That's the best of the best. Right. They know they have to come play in the WNBA. Right. So people are like, well, of course, what she's saying on Twitter is true because she's good. We thought she was good. We thought she was the standard. No, she sold the small 5% of the standard of what the women's sports could possibly be. She doesn't even scratch the surface of top 100. So it's like, so that's the biggest thing, right? They've never seen this conversation before. They've never had this conversation before. Well, we've had these conversations all the time. So it's like, it's kind of what we're seeing. And so her job is to just go play overseas and then come back and try again. And then if it doesn't work, go play. I mean, sometimes it takes 2 years for girls to get into the league. So yeah, she's fine. She'll be fine. She issued her apology. Hopefully she gets, hopefully the WNBA lets her in. Because that's another thing I don't think she was thinking about. They're not a forgiving league.
Well, they don't have to be because there's so many. They don't have to be.
144 spots, and every spot makes sense. Yes, exactly. Right. And we've been around 27 years. Yes, exactly.
Right.
So that's it.
When you talk about international, but you look at the NBA too. Maybe you pivot into that, but look at what's dominating. But what's dominating the NBA right now is international talent. International talent. You know, Jovic is.
There is a demographic shift happening. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Think about the last multiple. How many? This year's Joel Embiid.
Yes.
Okay. Who was it before that? I can't remember. Hold on. What is that? 2020.
Yeah, Dirk Nowitzki. You have. Yeah.
2020 was Giannis. So it's like.
Yeah. So, but it's really kind of neat though.
19 was Giannis.
Right. Right.
So the last four or 5 years has been an international athlete, has been the MVP of the National Basketball Association in America.
Right.
So yeah, there's a shift happening, right? And you know, they're trying more and more. This is the effect of NBA Africa, NBA Cares, Junior NBA. They're going over to other countries and introducing basketball. They have been doing this for the last quarter of a decade. They've been trying to do this.
Right. Now, we did touch on the WNBA coaching jobs that were eliminated last week. We did touch on that. We did.
NBA?
NBA. Did we touch on that? We did touch on that. And if not,
we said Doc should be fired. We were right about that. I don't think Doc is top 5. I said that.
Okay, we did.
I think that we were just blinded by Erik Spoelstra, in my opinion, with the Miami Heat, is a great coach.
He is.
And I think that it's Steve Kerr, Greg Popovich, Nick Nurse just took out the 76ers, who was with Toronto for their championship. So there's some movements happening. I think that it's going to be interesting, but also it's like it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. No, let's be real. It does not matter. Unless the system is right.
So for people, why do you say that? Why do you say that?
It doesn't matter. If they don't do anything on the court, it doesn't matter.
Right.
because this is the best league in the world. It's not the best coaching league in the world. I guarantee there's coaches out who are not coaching the NBA who are better than some of the coaches in the NBA. Right?
You're right about that. Yeah,
I kind of agree with the NBA too. I think a lot of the talent, I think the talent in the NBA has been somewhat diluted. I do not like it. I think it's because there's too many spots and there's too many opportunities that anybody can kind of just get in. I don't like it. I do not like it. From roster spot 1 to 12 in the WNBA, it is elite. It has to be, right? For their game.
Well, there's less opportunity though, Faith.
There's less opportunity. And that's what I'm saying. Sometimes when you put too much water in your Crystal Light, it's watery Crystal Light. Think about, you know what I mean? Like, that's just the situation. They have so much opportunity. And there's nothing wrong with it, but it's just kind of like.
Okay, so last night we saw something yesterday with the Miami Heat that I didn't expect.
Okay, hold on a second. What did you just say?
I didn't expect it. I thought that Denver would dominate. I did. And
I don't know what it is about the Miami Heat, but something about them, just like they're like cockroaches. They withstand anything. They literally, every time you think you're like, oh, this is gonna be it.
No. You already said it, Faith. Coach.
Yeah.
You already said it. That coach is phenomenal.
Yeah. Yeah.
He make the adjustments. I mean, it's just, somehow it looked like they're not going to be. It happened in the Boston series too. It looked like, okay, what's going on? So,
but they outscored them in the moments of the game that mattered the most.
Yes, it did.
That they did not do in game one. They outscored them in the first quarter. And they outscored them in the fourth quarter.
Do you attribute that to playoff experience?
Sure. But I just genuinely think like they make adjustments, like you said, really well. And I think what happened in quarters 2 and 3 was that Denver just, once again, because Denver's the better team. I think we all can agree on that. You know what I mean? Yeah. They're more talented, they're bigger, they're longer, they're tall. Like they're better than the Miami Heat. That's just the situation of it. When you go roster to roster, they're better, right? But I think that the Miami Heat has age. I think Miami Heat has experience. Miami Heat is Jimmy Butler. And I think that they have Eric Spoelstra. I think there's a big difference. I think the Miami Heat it's hard because they're great teams. But I think Miami Heat has a great program mindset. And I think that's why you have to be careful with them. That's why I said they're like cockroaches, because it's like they never, ever, I don't think even when Boston almost came back and they almost got them, it didn't happen. Did not happen. They outscored them in the first and the fourth quarter. They kept it close in the second and third, and I think that's what helped them. It was 24-25, 24-26 in the third quarter, 2-point difference. So it's like it's not like Miami ever went away. What it feels like when Denver scores is that they're smothering you. That's what it is. When you're watching it and you see Denver score, you're like, God, that was heartbreaking, right? They make a three when you don't want them to. They dunk the ball when you don't want them to. They get a steal when you don't want them to, right? It's like, right? They always get those back-breaking moments. Yeah. And that's why you're like, gosh, there they go, being bigger than them, being stronger than them, being taller. Like, there it goes. But then Miami does weird stuff, like locks in on the last 5 minutes of the game and makes sure they don't lose their lead. That's just off mental. So, I mean, but also here's the thing, like they shot 50% from their 3-point line, Miami Heat. That's not a bad night. They shot 90% from the free throw line.
Well, for me, all those stats, but to pull out a win at an improbable location, I mean, I don't think Denver has lost a playoff game this year. Was huge. Now they're going back to Miami 1-1. I didn't think that would happen. So they're actually in the driver's seat now.
Kind of. Boston won in Miami.
That's true.
Boston can win in Miami. Denver can win in Miami. Here, let me just say this though to you, okay? Miami Heat was 50% from the 3-point line yesterday. So listen to this stat before you decide that Miami has figured it out. They're 50% from the three-point line last night. They were 34% from the three-point line on the regular season. They were the fourth worst three-point shooting team in the NBA. So were they just hot last night? They better hopefully shoot 50% the rest of it, because shooting 50% from the three-point line is what helped them beat Denver. Right. But if they can't do that again, that's my biggest worry. Because what's his name came out and shot 4 in the first quarter. And he hasn't made 1 in 10 games. Like, it was weird stuff happening for Miami, right? So is it luck? Is there strategy? I don't know. What I do think is that Game 3 in Miami is a deciding factor on if Miami is even capable, in my opinion. Because weird things happen all the time in a 7-game series. 7 games. If you play a team back-to-back 7 times, you're bound to, it's hard to win. You know what I mean? Like, it's hard to do what the Denver did all playoffs for as long as they did.
Yeah.
That's my thoughts. My other thoughts are this. Uh-oh. I still think that Denver could win this. I don't want Denver to win this. I don't. I want Jimmy Buckets to win an NBA championship, because I think that he has been outstanding these playoffs.
He's been outstanding for a long time. Even when he hit the Bulls. Yes.
So that's my thing. And I'm pulling up more of the stats from Game 1, because I want to see what the 3-point was for Game 1. Because I really think that's the deciding factor, because they beat him by 11. Hold on. Yeah, they shot 33% from the 3-point line in Game 1. That's about their average, 34%. And they lost by 11. They got outscored in they still, the only quarter they outscored them was the fourth quarter.
Right.
So it's like, it's just like, when watching the game, it looked like Miami, like, oh, Miami can do this. When you look at the paper, you're like, gosh, I wonder if this was just a good night. And that's what worries me.
Right.
So I don't know who you have winning after that game, which it sounds like you want to pick Miami.
I like to see Miami win, and I'm like you. I see on paper Denver as the stronger, longer team, but I'm hoping that because of the coaching and because of the playoff experience, that Miami can figure out a way to at least take the Game 7.
I want a Game 7. I want Miami. I don't know if Miami is going to win Game 3. But they need one of those. I have yet to ever see Denver come back from being down because they're undefeated. So I don't know how they'll respond to that. If Miami takes Game 3, I don't know how Denver will respond. And I think that's interesting. And I think that's the only way Miami can win the series is just prey on we don't know what they'll do when they're down. And so we have to be up. And it seems so simple, but it's like something as small as that, as small as a detail like that, it can get you an NBA championship. So that's my thoughts. Right. But is it a fluke, or is it Miami Heat is that good? I don't know. I want to say I believe in Miami, but I can't. Because have you seen him?
Yeah.
Have you seen him? It's no longer our league. It's not. Let's be real. It's not our league anymore.
Well, that's what we were. I mean, it happened a long time ago. I mean, European basketball is strong. You know?
It's strong, but it wasn't like. Here's the thing: it was respectable.
Yeah.
Linsky, right? Like, it's respectable. Tony Parker, it was respectable, right? It goes way back. But in terms of the best player in the league, let me read you from 2000 to 2023. There was a shift happening, okay? Shaquille O'Neal, Allen Iverson, Tim Duncan, Kevin Garnett, Steve Nash, Dirk Nowitzki. 1. Kobe Bryant, LeBron James, Derrick Rose, LeBron James, Kevin Durant, Stephen Curry, Russell Westbrook, James Harden, Giannis, Jokic, Joel Embiid.
Wow.
So it started 2019.
Wow.
Steve Nash won the 2006 MVP trophy, only scoring 18 points per game, but his assists were 10.5 assists per game. But yeah, so 2019.
Wow.
So that's what I'm trying to say. So yeah, it's always happened.
Right.
But what are your thoughts?
Yeah. Well, like I said, I think I started the conversation off about the influence that European basketball has had. I mean, international basketball, which is really, really pretty amazing considering you talk about the dilution of talent. I mean, we are seeing a lot of. I mean, look at I remember there's a draft back in 2015, 2016, and the number of players that went from Europe that they had no intent on actually playing, but they drafted them, on potential because these kids are so young.
Well, look at who's going to be the first pick in the NBA draft this year.
Yeah. What is he, 7 foot? What?
He's 7'7". He's French.
Wow.
They say that he is the best prospect to ever become drafted in the NBA draft. He is the highest prospect to enter the NBA draft ever. That's what they said. He's 7'7". Ever. Do you know who played in this league? Do you know who has played? We just saw LeBron James play more years than he has been alive.
I know, right?
So you have to understand, like, no, something's happening. A shift is happening.
Right.
Yeah, the shift is happening. Yeah. So we need to acknowledge that. But as we near the ending of our show, I know we wanted to dive into talking a little bit about June in general, and it's not just Father's Day, but it's also Pride Month. So June is full of fun events and acknowledgement and awareness. But I think the biggest one is Father's Day, which is I want to say almost 2 weeks away. It's 2 Sundays from now. So what are your thoughts as you near Father's Day as a 70-year-old man?
Well, we could have a show on that.
Your 70s come with reflection.
This thinking about I mean, for some reason, every year I guess it needs more and more and more. Maybe because I am older. I am a little bit older, but just the meaning of it, like I told you how my life has unfolded. How important fatherhood is. I think it's the greatest gift in the world, and want to begin to celebrate that, and begin to embrace it and begin to talk about it. I know that we'll have a show about it, but I just want to kind of set the stage for it. And I really like to do something special for that day. That's it is a week after next, right?
Yeah. It's 2 Sundays from now, so not this Sunday, but the next Sunday.
Right. But just encourage our viewers to watch because I think that when you look at, and especially in the sports world, how important fatherhood is in supporting the kids, and how not having the father being absent, how it impacts some of these kids' lives. And, how it's so important for me to be present, after our loss. And I didn't realize the importance of it, the magnitude of it, until I got older and I watched you guys get older and begin to come at the adulthood, and then kind of reflecting back on my life and the realization that my biological father just passed away almost a year ago, and then being able to understand his life and how challenging it was, and then really having a level of appreciation for my dad, Max Hubbs, and how he was able to navigate it, knowing that I wasn't his biological son. And, that's, things that I think happens a lot, but at the end of the day, just because someone is, not your biological father doesn't mean that nurtures fatherhood. And that's why I've been paying a lot of attention to it over the last couple of weeks, and I really kind of spent some time on that the next couple of weeks.
Very nice. Yeah. And I think expanding a day beyond just one day out of 365 days is acknowledging the people in our lives whose roles matter, and what would happen if they did not choose to just be in that role. There's everything is a choice in life, and understanding family is still a choice. So I think that that's another thing to also keep in mind, is being aware of people don't have to do anything in life. They don't have to be good people, and they don't have to be courageous, and they don't have to be amazing fathers, and they don't have to be amazing mothers. And no, people make a choice, and when they make a choice, it's extraordinary. So that's another thing to keep in mind is acknowledge that it's not just one day, but it's 365 as well, because their job is 365. So, but oh no, awesome. Well, wonderful show, of course. Happy June 5th. We're officially in summer. And another great show about the NBA Finals. Miami Heat have to win the next game, in our opinion. We still don't know, but we'll probably come back and discuss it because we're probably at 2 or 3 games under our belt the next time we see you guys. So again, thank you everyone for joining us on this wonderful Monday. Again, this is Faith Family Focus, where we want to use our faith as a vehicle to help heal and sustain others on strengthening their own family core. And of course, our slogan:
let go, let God, let go, let faith, and let go, let love.
Everyone have a wonderful Monday. We'll talk soon.